When Ibn Arabi spoke about Surah Ikhlas, he didn't speak of a chapter, he spoke of a doorway. He said Allah hides certain doors from the world, but reveals them to the heart that is ready. And one night, under a sky so silent it felt like it was holding its breath, Ibn Arabi gathered his students and said, "Tonight I will teach you how to recite Surah Ikhlas in a way that opens a hidden door between you and your destiny." The students leaned in, their hearts trembling with anticipation. Ibn Arabi lifted his hand toward the stars and said, "Do not rush this surah. Do not merely speak it. Feel every word return you to the One." He told them to close their eyes. "Recite it slowly," he whispered, "as if you were saying it from the deepest room of your soul." He told them, "When you say Kul huwa Allahu ahad, imagine that everything you fear disappears because there is only Him." He continued, "When you say Allahu as-Samad, feel the strength of the One who never depends on anyone, but upon whom everyone depends." Then his voice lowered to a trembling softness. "When you say Lam Yalid wa Lam Yulad, feel how Allah is free of all limits, all origins, all endings, and remember that He can rewrite your life in a heartbeat." And finally, when you say Wa Lam Yakan Lahu Kufuwan Ahad, understand that no one can stand against His will for you. Nothing. Not envy. Not people. Not destiny. The night grew still, as if creation itself bowed its head. Ibn Arabi stepped forward and said, "Whoever recites Surah Ikhlas like this, with presence, with surrender, with sincerity that burns away the ego, will feel something shift. A door will open. A path will unfold. Not outside, but inside." One of the students asked quietly, "Master, what kind of door?" Ibn Arabi turned to him, and in the moonlight his eyes looked ancient, illuminated, almost overflowing with a truth too heavy for words. "A door," he said, "that leads you to the version of yourself Allah always meant you to become." He added, "Many recite with their tongue. Few recite with their heart. Only hearts open doors." And as the wind moved gently through the courtyard, carrying their whispered recitations into the night, Ibn Arabi looked at them and said, "If you want your life to change, recite Surah Ikhlas like this tonight. You will not return from that moment the same." And the door, though invisible, was already beginning to unlock. When the students finished their recitation, something strange settled over the courtyard, a silence so deep it felt alive. Ibn Arabi walked among them slowly, looking at each face as though he could see the exact state of their hearts. "Do you feel it?" he asked softly. Some nodded, others shivered with emotion they couldn't explain. "That warmth in your chest," he continued, "is not imagination. It is the heart remembering its source." One young student whispered, "Master, why does this surah open a door more than others?" Ibn Arabi turned toward him with a gentle smile. "Because this surah is pure tawheed. It strips away every illusion, every anxiety, every false attachment. It returns you to the One who never leaves you, the One who holds all outcomes in His hand." He then lifted his gaze to the sky, where clouds drifted like slow-moving thoughts. "Each time you recite it with sincerity," he said, "you peel away a layer of heaviness inside you. You become lighter, clearer, more aligned. And when the heart becomes clear, it begins to see what the eyes cannot." The wind picked up, rustling the students' robes. Ibn Arabi raised his hand as if feeling the air itself responding to the moment. "There is a reason the Prophet said Surah Ikhlas is equal to 1/3 of the Qur'an," he said. "It contains a secret, a signature of divine unity, and when you recite it with presence, that unity begins to reflect inside you." He stepped closer to the group and lowered his voice. "Some of you will dream tonight. Some will feel lighter tomorrow. Some will sense a shift in the direction of your life. Do not be afraid. That is the hidden door opening. The youngest student clenched his hands nervously. "Master, how will I know the door is truly open?" Ibn Arabi looked at him with eyes full of compassion. "You will know because what used to feel heavy will suddenly feel possible. What used to confuse you will become clear. And what used to block you will begin to move aside without you pushing." A soft glow from the lanterns danced across Ibn Arabi's face as he added, "This is not magic. It is alignment with the one who controls every path. When the heart aligns, life aligns." He began to walk away, his robe brushing lightly along the stone floor, but before disappearing into the shadows, he turned and said one final thing: "Recite Surah Ikhlas like this every night, and the hidden door will not only open, it will stay open." Ibn Arabi's footsteps faded into the darkness, but the air he left behind felt charged, as if something unseen was still watching over the students. They remained seated in a silent circle, each of them feeling an inner movement they could not name. Moments later, the oldest among them lifted his head. "Master said the door opens, but what lies behind it?" he whispered. No one answered. The question hung in the night like a lantern suspended in the sky. Then, from the far end of the courtyard, a faint breeze passed through the arches, warm, fragrant, as though carrying a message. It brushed over their faces, and suddenly one of the younger students felt tears rise in his eyes. "I don't know why," he muttered, "but something inside me feels forgiven." Another student straightened, his voice trembling. "And I feel fearless. Like the weight I'd been carrying for years just disappeared." One by one, they realized the same thing: the recitation had not just been words. It had shifted something deep within. The night grew darker, but instead of fear, a strange comfort spread among them. They felt held, surrounded, supported. As they prepared to leave, a quiet voice echoed from behind one of the pillars. It was Ibn Arabi again, watching them without them noticing. "Good," he said. "You are beginning to feel what the heart feels when the veil lifts." They froze, listening. He stepped forward, light catching the edge of his robe. "Understand this," he said. "The hidden door is not in the sky. It is inside you. Surah Ikhlas does not open a path outward, it opens a path inward." His voice grew deeper, resonating through the courtyard. "Behind that door lies certainty. Behind that door lies clarity. Behind that door lies a heart that trusts Allah without shaking." The lanterns flickered as if bowing to his words. "And when a heart reaches that state," he continued, "nothing in this world can break it. Nothing can sway it. Nothing can poison it with doubt." He moved closer, his eyes intense. "You will still face trials. You will still meet hardship. But the heart behind the door does not collapse, it rises." A moment passed. Peace settled again. Then he gave them the final instruction of the night: recite it not with your tongue, but with your presence. Recite it until the words live inside you. Then, only then, will you understand why the door opens. And as the students left the courtyard, each step felt lighter than the last, as though they were walking not away from something, but towards something calling them from within. They walked through the quiet corridors of the old madrasa, the moonlight spilling across the stone floor like silver water. None of them spoke, yet each felt the same strange pull, as if their hearts had been awakened from a long sleep. When they finally reached the outer courtyard, the youngest student stopped suddenly. His breath caught in his throat. "Did you feel that?" The others turned. "What?" Someone, or something, calling from inside. Not a voice, more like an invitation, a warmth rising beneath the ribs, a gravity pulling them back toward the place they had just left. One by one, the students realized they felt it too. A tug. A whisper. A subtle opening within their chests. They returned to the center of the courtyard without speaking, drawn by an unseen thread. The night was still. The sky was deep. And then something shifted. Not around them, inside them. A wave of stillness washed over their hearts, thick and deep like ocean water. The eldest student clutched his chest. This wasn't here before. Another nodded. It feels like a door really opened. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was the quietest thing they had ever experienced and the most powerful. A warmth expanded slowly, like light seeping through cracks in an old wall. It filled the spaces inside them where fear had lived. It reached corners where regret used to hide. It softened memories that had always hurt. And then, suddenly, a voice. Not heard with the ears. Heard with the soul. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, the words of Surah Ikhlas. Except now they weren't reciting it, the surah was reciting them. It flowed through their hearts like a river of light, cleansing, warming, illuminating the dark places they didn't even know existed. One student gasped and fell to his knees, overwhelmed. Another began crying quietly, tears spilling onto the stone. A third felt laughter rising, pure, weightless joy he couldn't contain. And in that moment, they understood this was the hidden door. It wasn't a miracle outside. It wasn't a vision in the sky. It was the awakening of the heart when the truth of Allah is one finally enters it fully. Behind them, unseen, Ibn Arabi watched silently from the shadows, his eyes reflecting the moon. He whispered to himself, a smile touching his lips, now they see. Now the heart begins. The courtyard grew even more silent, as if the entire night held its breath to witness what was unfolding. The students remained still, some seated, some standing, others trembling, each one overwhelmed by the intensity of what they felt inside. It wasn't emotion. It wasn't imagination. It was something far deeper. It was transformation. The youngest student wiped his tears and whispered, "Master, why does it feel like something inside me just unlocked?" Ibn Arabi stepped forward at last, his footsteps gentle on the stone floor. "Because," he said softly, "for the first time in your life, you recited Surah Ikhlas with your heart awake. Not your tongue. Not your mind. Your heart." He motioned for them to rise. "Do you know why Surah Ikhlas is called the essence of the Qur'an?" They shook their heads. Ibn Arabi smiled. "Because it strips away everything that is not God. And the moment you recite it with sincerity, everything inside you that does not belong to Him begins to fall away. What you felt tonight was the weight of false attachments dissolving." Another student, still trembling, asked, "But why did it feel like a door opening?" Ibn Arabi nodded. "Because Allah created the heart with a door that only opens from the inside. Not for people. Not for dunya. Only for Him. Most hearts remain locked all their lives. But when you recite Qul huwa Allahu ahad with full presence, full awareness, full surrender, the lock finally breaks." He placed a hand gently on one student's shoulder. "And when that door opens, light enters. Understanding enters. Peace enters." The eldest student looked up, his voice shaking. "Master, what happens now?" Ibn Arabi's gaze softened. "Now," he said, "your journey begins. Tonight, Allah showed you the door. Your task is to walk through it every day, in every breath, in every moment. The students listened, their hearts still glowing with the aftershock of what they had felt. Ibn Arabi raised his hand toward the sky. Remember this night. Remember this opening. And whenever you feel lost, afraid, or distant from Allah, return to these words. He recited softly, slowly, each syllable vibrating with meaning. Kul huwa Allahu ahad, and the hidden door, he whispered, will open for you again. The night stretched into a deep, endless calm as Ibn Arabi stood among his students for the final time that evening. The moon shone brightly overhead, casting a pale silver glow across their faces still wet with tears, still trembling with the weight of what they had experienced. He looked at them with a tenderness that felt like a blessing in itself. Listen to me, he said softly, because these words will follow you long after I am gone. He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a whisper that carried more power than any shout. The hidden door you felt tonight, it was not opened by your voice. It was opened by your sincerity. The students held their breath. Many people recite Surah Ikhlas, he continued, but few allow it to reshape their hearts. Few allow it to strip away ego, fear, pride, sorrow, and all the noise of this world. He placed his hand over his chest. But you did. And once the door opens, it does not close easily. A tremor of hope passed through the students. Ibn Arabi smiled gently. From this night on, you will notice things changing, he said. Old pains will lose their grip. Old fears will fade. Paths that once frightened you will become clear. And moments that used to break you will now strengthen you. He turned toward the sky. Because the heart that has tasted unity, he whispered, can never return to fragmentation. A soft wind moved through the courtyard, almost like a confirmation. He looked at them one final time. Guard this door, he said. Guard it with remembrance. With sincerity. With truth. Do not let dunya cloud what Allah purified tonight. His voice dropped to its softest, most intimate tone. Every time you recite Surah Ikhlas with presence, you are not calling upon Allah, you are returning to Him. The students lowered their heads, overwhelmed. Ibn Arabi stepped back into the shadow of the archway. This night, he said, will follow each of you. In your prayers. In your silence. In your darkest moments and your brightest victories. He paused. Because the door once opened within the heart becomes a doorway through which Allah guides you for the rest of your life. Then, with a final glance at the moonlit courtyard, he whispered, walk through it. And you will never be the same again. And with that, he disappeared into the quiet of the night, leaving behind hearts forever changed, and a door within them that would never again be fully closed.